Hello and welcome to our 12th session of this modeling section of Unreal Engine 5.6, and in this section we are going to complete our structural model of Gol Gumbaz. If you are continuing from the previous session, you can directly open the previous session project and you can start working on it. But if you doesn't have those files, I have provided a Patreon link and from there you can download it. If you come into our YouTube channel or in the LMS description, if you click more here, you have a Patreon link here, and if I click on the link, you have this page open, and if you scroll down, you have a file here, Gol Gumbaz _part3.zip. Click on this. Now it is downloaded. I will just right click on this, click extract all and extract all the files, and I will come back to downloads folder, and I have this Gol Gumbaz _part3. I will cut or copy it from here. Then I will come into the Unreal projects and I am going to paste it. Then I will come into Epic Games Launcher, double click to launch it, come into Unreal Engine library, and I am going to come here Gol Gumbaz _part3, Gol Gumbaz.u project file, double click to launch it. Now once it is launched, I will come into the content drawer, content Gol Gumbaz, and I will double click on Gol Gumbaz level to open this. We had created this projection just to show you how the project component works, but right now in our Doom it's not required, so I will just select this projection and I will delete it. If I come into the Doom, you can now see here this area, I want this Doom area to be open. I have to cut this and make it open. I will now come here into the modeling mode, and in create I will come into cylinder, and in the output type I will change it to dynamic mesh, and I will set its radius to around 2100, and I am going to set its slicing to 32, and then in pivot location I will choose centered, and then I am going to now click somewhere here, click accept, and then come here and reset the location and rotation. Now if I come into the front view, you can now see that this is exactly placed. I will slightly move it down and see it is exactly placed in between this main structure top ceiling. So now I will select the main structure, with shift pressed I will select this cylinder, and then I will come into model and I am going to choose the option trim. I will now come here in the name, and again I am going to call this as main structure, and I am going to click accept. And if I come into the perspective view, and now if I move in and check, I am seeing a small amount of gap on the top. So for that I will select the top tomb. I will just slightly move it down along the Z axis so that it rests exactly. Okay, so now I have just slightly moved it by around -40, and I will come into the front view. I will select this arc, and here also in the Z value I am going to minus it by 40 and move it down, and I will select this top tomb also, and here also I will minus 40 and move it down. If I again come back into the perspective view and if I check it, you can now see that you have the big gap inside, and if we move around I can see the entire tomb now. So we have successfully created this main structure, but what is left now is the 4 minars that we have to create at the 4 corners. Now to create this minar, I will just come into file and I will create a new level, and I will just create an empty level, create here, and I am going to come into file, save current level as, and in content Gol Gumbaz I am going to call this as minars, and I am going to click save. And just like last time, I will come into window, environment light mixer, enable skylight, direction light, sky atmosphere, volumetric cloud, height fog, close this, come to file and choose save all, and come here, right click and create a new folder and call this as atmosphere, and drag all these 5 components into this atmosphere and close this. And to create the Minar, I am going to come here again into modeling mode and come into create, and I am going to start with a cylinder. So, I will click on cylinder, and even in the output type I am going to choose dynamic mesh, and this time I am going to set a radius of around 300, that is, it has a radius of about 3 meters and it will have a height of 3 meters. Then I am going to set its slices, instead of 32 I am going to use 8, and only in this pivot location now I will set it to base, and now I will just click here and click accept and then reset its position to 0 0 0. If I right click and press W and move around, I have got this structure here. I am going to now come into mesh polygroup selection, face selection, select the top face. I will come into select, and I am going to just push pull it and move it to the top by approximately around 75 centimeters. I will then click accept here. I will then again select the top face, and I am going to scale it by 1.2 along x, 1.2 along y, 1.2 along z. You can see here there is a small kind of projection here coming out like this. So, to create this, in select I will select this model, and I will come into insert loop, and I will come into position mode and choose even, and I am going to create 8 number of loops, and if I bring and click here on every side, see this created 8 loop. Then I will just press right click and create 8 loops here, 8 loops here, on 3 sides I created. Then I move on the other 2 sides, here also I will create 8 loops, here also 8 loops. I will right click and turn, and I will create 8 loops here, 8 loops here. I will right click and turn around, and so now I have created 8 cuts every there, and I will click accept. Come into face selection mode, I will again select this model, and I will start selecting the faces, alternate faces here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I will right click and press A and rotate it, and here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this side. Then I will again move on the other side, and here I will get 1 with shift press, 2, 3, 4. Then I will right click and click here with shift pressed, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then I will again turn, press D and A and rotate it like this. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. I am selecting it using shift. So, I have accidentally selected one face here. If I press control and click on this, it gets deselected. Then I will again right click, press A and turn around, and I am going to now just right click and press W and zoom it. So, then I am going to select 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 faces here, right click and press A and turn around, and here I am going to press select 1, 2, 3 and 4 with shift press, and I will just turn around here, and this is the last face selection, wherein I select with shift press 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 faces. So, now I have selected all the alternate faces here, and with this selection done, I will come here into push pull, and I am going to pull it up by an unit of 30 and click accept. I am going to next select the top face here, this one, and I am going to next outset it a little to cover this entire area like this. I am going to then press push pull, and I am going to pull it by 60 units. I will just right click, press E and move up. I will click accept. Then I will again select this face. I will click inset, and I will create a slight inset here like this, and then I am going to push pull and move it down by minus 60 unit, or slightly up because it is cutting a little. I will move it by minus 58 units and then click accept. Now, the issue we have here is if I press W and come inside, you can now see that inside I am not able to see the wall. So, we have not created this inner walls. So, to create this inner wall, I will move out, and in this case I am now going to come into cylinder again, and instead of the radius 300, I will make it 290. I will leave the height at 300 only, because we have extended it by another 30 units. We made a push pull and pulled it by 30 units. So, height I am going to keep it at around 320, and with 8 slice I will then see that the pivot location is set to base. I will click here, click accept and reset location and rotation to 0, 0, 0, and then come into the front view, and you can now see here the inner wall. So, I am going to move this inner wall up by around 15 centimeters. I am going to select the outer cylinder, with shift press select the inner cylinder, and I will come into model, Boolean, and leaving difference a minus b as it is. I am going to give this a new name as Minar underscore main, and then click accept. If I come into the perspective view, and if I now move inside the building, you can now see the inside walls visible. And now, one other thing I want here is, if you see the image, you have this kind of arc here, 8 numbers. So, to create it in our content drawer, if you come into generated Satvik, we had already created this shape as a door. We had created these 4 doors, which has been saved as static mesh. I will drag this SM door 1 into the scene. I will reset its position to 0, 0, 0. This is too huge here. I have to change its size. So, I will come into scale. I will enable scale lock, and I will reduce the scale to 0.1 unit. Then I will come into the front view, and I am going to just drag it and place it here, and just check that this is suitable. This is still a little bigger. So, instead of 0.1, I am going to use 0.08, and I will reduce the size further, and then I will just place it here on the floor like this. So, I will just come to snapping, disable location snapping, zoom here, select this door, right mouse click and pan down, and I will just place it above this floor like this, just touching the floor here. Now, once I am ready with this, only thing now is, if I come into the top view now, you can see this is present here, and I want its x axis to be scaled more. So, I will switch off the scale, and along x I will scale it by around 10 is too much, I will scale it by around 4 units. I am going to click here, drag it and bring it at this location. Then I am going to just press E, and I am going to rotate it, so that this is precisely aligned to this angle. See, I have got this angle. Press W, then I am going to press Alt to make a copy of this, then press E. I am going to rotate it so that this is parallel to this angle. Then I am going to press W, drag it and place it at this point, right click, and I am just going to pan it here. Then again press Alt, drag it, E, and rotate and adjust the axis, then press W, place this correctly here. Then again press Alt, drag it, press E and rotate it, set the angle, press W and drag it and place it here. and again I will right click the mouse and move it here, alt click to make a copy, then I will drag it here, press E, rotate it, set the axis, press W, move it and place it here, press alt and again drag it to make a copy, press E and you just rotate it, then press W and place it to this axis like this here. Then similarly, now again press alt and drag it, press E and rotate it, and then again press W, then press alt and drag it to make a copy, press E and rotate it, press W and place it like this. So, I have placed this on all the 8 sides and I will just come into perspective view and check it. So, this appears to be, I will now select from this SM door 1 to SM door 8, all the 8, and I am now going to come into X form and I am going to choose the option merge and I will click accept. So, now this entire 8 doors got merged into one object. Then I will select my Minar main, with shift pressed I will select this combine. I will come into model and I am now going to choose the option trim. So, when I click on trim and if I click accept, you can immediately now see that the doors has been cut, but only thing is at the bottom I am seeing some kind of gap here. I am seeing the in between area here is not covered. So, you are seeing this gap. To avoid it, I will come back here, edit, undo trim, and with this selected, this time in model I will choose Boolean and I will choose difference A minus B. Now, see, you are not seeing that gap. So, in trim we were seeing that gap. So, Boolean is better. I will click accept. I will come into Boolean here, press F2 and I will name it again as Minar underscore main. Now, come to file and choose save all. In this Minar structure, you will have a staircase running here and I want the top area to be open. I will again come here into my create and I am going to create another cylinder, and in dynamic mesh now I am going to set the radius of my cylinder to 200 and height can be anything with 8 sides, and I will set the pivot location to center. 200 is very less, so I will make this 260 and I am going to place this. I will click accept and then I will come into the front view. I will just reset the location so that it is exactly at the center. Then I will move it only along the Z axis to the top and then I will select the main mirror. Then come into perspective view with shift press, select this cylinder and I am going to again come into model Boolean and I am going to click accept, and I want the same cut at the bottom also. In create, the only thing is instead of 260 I am going to reduce this radius to 220 and then I will again add this accept, reset the position to 0 0 0, then come into the front view and I will first select the Boolean, then shift select the cylinder and again come into model Boolean difference A minus B and click accept. Now, if I come into perspective view, this appears to be fine. I have to add this one above the other. So, if I come into the front view, see I have this structure now Boolean 2, I will press F2 and again I will rename this as Minar underscore main, and later on I will now come into X form and I am going to select pattern now. Now, selecting the pattern, if I come into the right view, it is creating the pattern by like this, and instead of count I will go into packed. Okay, so, now I have two placed one next to each other, but I want this to be placed one above the other. So, here direction, instead of x axis I will choose z axis, then you can see it is moving one above the other. The amount of extent I need is, my building height is 51 meters. So, in that I also have to add the dome. So, I am going to extend this to around to 3800. Before I click accept, I will come into the perspective view, and if I check it, one thing here is you can see some gaps here. See, I can see the gaps here and I want to avoid this gap. So, in that case I have one adjustment here. Moving this adjustment, come into front view, and if I just come closer and if I see here, so if I change the adjustment and move it, see, as I move it down at a value of around -30, it is touching one another. And if I now come into perspective view, and now if I right click and if I move and check it, see, now this appears to be fine. So, there are no gaps now. I will press Q and check once. Okay, so, now we are not seeing any gaps. So, with this setting, only thing now is, if I come back into the front view and see this height has slightly reduced. So, instead of 3800, I will make it 4200 and increase the size a little, because we have moved in. Then I am going to click accept. So, now if I come into the perspective view, I will deselect it and then I will press E and move up, and now you can see that the minars are placed perfectly over one another. But here you are seeing this overlapping because I have made the minar main on. If I switch it off, okay, now there is no issue. I will come here, it is named as pattern underscore 0. I will press F2 and I am now going to call this as minars. If I come to the floor, you can see I have a gap at the bottom. However, at the bottom I doesn't want this gap. So, if I press Q and come down, I doesn't want this gap. First of all, I will come into this disable mesh element, I will select the entire element and I will come into the front view and see that the pivot is at the center. I will now come here into Xform edit pivot and change it to bottom and click accept. Then I will reset the location so that it is exactly at the center. I will come into perspective view and press F, and now to add and close the bottom floor here, I will come into create and I will come into cylinder and I am going to create 221 radius with a height of 15 centimeter with sides 8 and with the pivot position set to base. I will click here, click accept and then reset its location to 0, 0, 0. I will select this mesh, with shift select I will select this cylinder also, and now I will come into mesh. There are 3 types of merge that you can do. One is I can come into model, Boolean and choose union, and now if I come here into the wireframe and check it, so this union appears to be fine. Now I doesn't have any overlapping or any excess of vertices here. So now I will click accept. Now I will come back here to the lit view and now I have added the base. I want staircase to run through this throughout the building. So throughout the building I want a staircase to run. So to create this staircase, I will again come into create and I am going to come now into this stairs. Now when I come on stairs, by default you are having a stair which is linear. I want what is called as a spiral step and the total spiral angle should be 360 degree. I will now come here top view. I will come into the top view and I will just zoom in, and first I am going to adjust its radius from the top. So this inner radius I can set it here. If I set it to around 120, I think 120 is fine. So, I will just set the inner radius to 120 and then I will come into the front view, move out here and come here. See, now the only thing here is the steps are not covering the entire floor. Right now, I have set the number of steps to 8. If I increase the number of steps to 20, now you can just, I will just right click, pan up. See, this covers one floor, this radius is more, 120 is more. I will reduce this radius to around 110 and I will just bring it, place it here and test it like this. Step width is set to 150. I will reduce the step width to 100. To cover one floor, slightly 1 or 2 steps is going above. So, number of steps instead of 20, I will set it to 18 and see. So, if I set it to 18, it will be precise. So, I will set 18, I will click once and click accept and then I am going to move it and place it here and also I will come into the top view. See, I will just reset its position first to 0, 0, 0. I will press F and now I will just come into perspective view. I will right click and press Q and come down to see how it appears. So, now if I press W and if I see it, see the stair appears to be fine and I will just check that it is precisely placed here. Now, this stair I want it to be repeated throughout my Minar. I am now going to come into the front view. I have one stair here and I am going to call this, say I will press F2 and I will call this as stairs 1 and then I will press Alt and drag it and put it here as stairs 2 and I will right click and move up. I am going to press Alt and move it here and create stairs 3. Then again I will press Alt and move it to the top to create stairs 4. It will come from here. Okay. So, now I will right click, move up, Alt and I will move it up and create stairs 5, Alt click and move it to the top to create stair 6 and then I will just repeat this, Alt and move it to the top stair 7, then Alt and move it to stairs 8. We could have used pattern and created it. I will move it up and move again stairs 10. So, I will just Alt drag and precisely place it in every floor like this. So, now finally, in the roof I am going to place this. Now, if I come into the perspective view, now you have the stairs running throughout your Minar. If I come to the top, the last option I want to add here is at the roof I need to add a dome. This last stair I am going to delete it. Now, to add the dome at the top, I will now come to file, choose save all and then in content drawer I will open this Gol Gumbaz map and here we had already created the dome. So, I will select this dome, with shift select the top dome. I will come to edit and I am going to copy this. Now, coming into content drawer Minars, I am going to now come to edit and paste this. So, these two components are added here. If you come into the front view, I will again reset this position to 0, 0, 0. Now, I will select this, I will lock the scale and set the scale to 0.1 and I will just drag it, right click and I am going to drag it and check it placing on the top. Now, instead of 0.1, I will make this 0.2. 0.2 is very big, 0.15 appears to be fine. Then, I will also select this top dome and I will scale it down to 0.15 and I am going to drag this along the z axis and place it on the top. So, I am going to first select this tomb in modeling. I will now come here into X form and choose bake transform and I will click accept, so that rotation and scale is applied. Similarly, I will select the top tomb also and I will bake the transform, then I will click accept. Now, I will come into the perspective view, I will select this Boolean and I am going to rename this as minars, and then I am next going to actually select stair 1 to stair 11, all these stairs. I will drag this and make it the child of minars. Then I am also going to select this top tomb and make it the child of tomb, and I will select the tomb and make it the child of minars. Then I am going to select this, and with shift select I will select all these items. I will come into edit and I will copy it. I will come to file and also will save this. Come into content drawer Gol Gumbaz and then come here and paste this. I will now come in the top view and I am going to just drag it and place it at one corner like this. I will go to file and choose save all. I am then now going to select this Minar. I will select all these items again, then I will just press alt and move it here. Then I will select only the minars 2 and place it over this end here like this. From minars to tomb 3 I select everything, press alt and drag it. Then I am going to select only minar 3, drag it and place it at this point. Then again I will select minars 3 till this dom 4 full, press alt and drag this. I will select minars 4, drag it and place it at the other corner. I will come into perspective view. Now I have to select all the 4 minars, drag it and place it down over here. I will come into front view, I will just drag it and place it so that it just touches the floor like this. Now I will come into the perspective view, and if you check, so now our minars are correctly placed. Only thing is we are seeing some amount of gap here, or I will select the minar here and I will come in top view and I am going to just place it a little inside. I will drag it and place it a little inside like this. Similarly here I will select the minar, drag it and place it little inside. Even this minar I will select it, drag it and place it little inside. Even this minar I will drag it and place it inside. Come into perspective view, and now if you can see this, the minars are perfectly placed and our Gol Gumbaz is almost ready. One last thing we may need here is, here you already have one arc pattern created here. I am going to select this arc pattern and then I will come into Xform pattern and I am going to create a linear pattern now. And here I will come into the top view and I will select this linear pattern, drag it and bring it here so that I can see it in the side. I will come into the perspective view and I will just come here and check this. See, now you can see the pattern created here. So now here I will come into the option and choose packed, and I am going to actually increase the length to cover the complete width of my building like this. I am just going to drag it and place it at this point. I will set the width to around 4750 and click accept. Now I have this pattern 0 and I am going to now press F2 and I am going to call this as straight arc design, and I am going to select this, press alt and duplicate it to create another copy. I will come into the top view and I am going to rotate it along the Z axis by 90 degree. Then I will drag it and place it over, I will just place this over to this end, and I will come into perspective view, press F to see that the rotation is correct. Okay, this is fine. Then I will come into the top view, again I will press Alt and make another copy, and I am going to again rotate it by 0, and I am going to bring it and place it at the other corner over here, and finally I will select the straight arc design tool, press Alt and drag it, then I will drag it to the other end and place it here. Now, if you come into the perspective view and if you check it, now, so we have got the model of our gumbaz ready. So, with this done, I want you to take a high resolution screenshot and share it with me. Now, come to File and choose Save All. With this, we have successfully modeled our gumbaz, and with this you have explored almost all the tools of this modeling section, and there is one tool called as voxel, which we are going to discuss in the next session, and with that our modeling session is going to conclude. Thank you.